I first heard about Happy Days when I was a preteen at theater camp one summer. Another camper I was close with would constantly quote Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli during pre-rehearsal exercises. Being as impressionable as I was, I thought it was cool despite having never seen the show before. Watching Happy Days for the first time as an adult meant not needing nostalgia goggles to see who was truly the heart of the show. This isn't to say Fonzie has no appeal and couldn't possibly be somebody kids might idolize growing up, but I do nevertheless believe I speak for many older fans of the situational comedy when I say that a character like Richard Richie Cunningham makes complete sense as a protagonist for his vulnerable, yet well-meaning naivete. I skipped Fonzie's episodes when he took over because I really can't see him carrying the series with his one-note shtick of A's and mirror checks. I'm happy to hear from anyone who's seen him in the comments though. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. The point of Happy Days, mostly, is that Richie comes of age through misadventures with his friends. Fonzie does care for him and even helps the gang out at times, but he himself never really changes or learns much of anything for the sake of his own arc. And we can't use the comedic effect as an excuse. Compared to something like I Love Lucy, which I'll soon dedicate a video to, that deliberately plays up everything for laughs, this sitcom is laid back and down to earth. I'd even argue it's not so much a comedy as it is an upbeat slice of life type. So I am definitely expecting more character development from stories that are laden with real-world morals. This becomes especially evident whenever they address topical issues reflective of the 50s and 60s, the decades in which Happy Days takes place. With Richie as our lead, the show absolutely delivers. The cast gets into all sorts of shenanigans, but there aren't any bullies or villains to speak of. It's just a bunch of kids figuring out their identities, oftentimes getting mixed up with people who aren't always their crowd. And even when there's teasing, pranks, or peer pressure involved, they're never mean-spirited. My father grew up in the 60s and said these behaviors are accurate of the times, adding that kids back then were far more concerned with simply enjoying life together than alienating or competing with others. My favorite part of Happy Days is easily Richie's father, Howard, as well as the dynamic they share with one another. Howard, while protective of his family, seldom raises his temper and is the funniest character with his dry, sarcastic humor. The relationships he has with his sweet wife Marion and adorable daughter Joni are completely wholesome. And he's always willing to help Richie out of a pinch with unexpected skills from his quote-unquote cool days, even if it means getting into a bit of trouble himself. He's not stern, gruff, feeble-minded, or absent, traits we see a lot of in some form or another elsewhere. It's also rare to witness a family spending as much time together as the Cunninghams do on screen. Many families during that era didn't see each other often due to, depending on the family member, long work hours, never-ending house chores, school, extensive social lives, a lack of instant communication, being in the military, or some sort of political conflict. It helps connect generations and reinforces healthy bonds that our antisocial age could certainly use. The stunning picture quality and those iconic theme songs never fail to get me in the mood for another episode. I could imagine myself going back to reruns whenever I need a pick-me-up. Happy Days is proof that you don't necessarily require gritty or disturbing themes to get your points across. And besides, don't we deserve a fun night with this lovable gang after an exhausting day?